recording. Welcome to the Love in Action Show with me, Alpa Soni, here today in a very sunny LA. I've been traveling, as you all know, to Anaheim and Nashville. And upon my travels, a very, very dear friend of mine, Sarita Patel, saw fit to introduce me to a sister from another mister. I have been following Shehnaz's journey very subliminally because of the surname. And gives me great pleasure today to have somebody from my community that I can call a sister, literally with the same surname. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce this beautiful soul who I've been speaking to very briefly. Shehnaz, welcome to my show. It's so nice to have you here.
Thank you, Alpa, for giving me this opportunity to converge with you with the same last name and same community and same culture, and we speak same languages.
Of course. And we've been speaking on the phone over the last few days, and whilst we've kind of touched on a few subjects, I was very keen for us to go with the flow, as my viewers know that I don't really plan anything. I love to channel from the divine and see where these conversations lead us. But I do know and I do trust that the divine is working in everything that we do. And there's a reason why we've connected. So first of all, to all my viewers, thank you for being here and watching my show. If you can like, subscribe and share, because I seem to be getting some momentum on my channel. And also just some house notes. I have finally set up my Rumble account, so the link will be below, and all details, as you know, about my beautiful guests will always be in the description below. So please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, because it's really helping me move my channel. So thank you all that helped me. So back to my beautiful guest, Shehnaz. Yeah, we share the same surname, Soni. I obviously, my background is from India, and Soni means goldsmith.
Exactly.
And that's exactly the same for you.
Exactly the same thing. And for me, my last name has a story, by the way. I actually kind of designed my last name in a way because my mom is from the Soni family, and they basically go by Soni Wala, where because we speak Gujarati, that's our mother tongue. And Wala is an association, right? And when I got divorced,
so much परिचय गुजराती में हूँ बात करूँ तो
हाँ मैं बात करी सकूँ अगर તમે કરવો હોય તો
ચાલો તો આપણે ગુજરાતીમાં શો કરે અત્યારે.
I think that would be amazing, right? Because I know it's like interesting, right? Because I don't speak as much as I don't speak with people around me, so it's really weird to me right now, like Gujarati Bolabu, right?
Yeah, love it.
So yeah, so I actually did not like the Wala part of the Soni, because to me that's just waste of alphabets. So I basically, and then I had a choice to pick up my dad or my mom's last name. And when I came to America, and because we don't have last name in Pakistan, it's only your dad's first name. So I actually said I prefer my mom's last name. So therefore I took that and I took the Wala off. So I created my last name.
Wow. Well, it's something similar for me, because I think that the Soni community all come from the same tribe in India, because the background's goldsmiths. So we get our surnames from what our professions were. So Soni being my community, my caste, you have Patels, you have Shahs and Luhanas, and within the Soni community, they sort of split into the Hindu and the Muslim community, but still keeping the same Soni surname. And then there's variations with that. But anyway, more on our history another time. But Shehnaz, it gives me so much warmth in my heart to see a fellow sister in this movement, because as we were speaking the other day, it's very few and far between that are speaking up in the to what we're going through in the collective, and being brave enough to publicly say what we think. Now, if you'd like to tell my guest just a little bit about who you are and your background, because it's phenomenal. I mean, she's just not only a beautiful face.
Yeah, sure. So basically, yeah, I feel like I've taken a long journey, right? Being born in Karachi, a patriarchal culture in Pakistan, in the midst of like a 3-bedroom apartment where we were basically, I was always wondering about life outside of that cage that I was in. And my quest for understanding life or wanting to study, all of that was being denied by the patriarchal culture and the community. And I was told that you shouldn't even bother going to school because you're going to be in the kitchen cooking for a man ultimately. And to me, the more I was told no for things, the more I decided that I'm going to go against it, which is why I became a valedictorian in my school. And then I had an arranged marriage, which is how I came to America. And my one question in that 1 hour interview I had with my first husband was that, will I be able to study? Because that to me was the most important thing. And he wanted me to study, which is the reason I was able to land in LA, not speaking English, but this
Wow.
fire. Yes, I didn't speak English all my life. I wanted to because I was very taken by people who spoke English. And when I came to LAX,
Fantastic now. So graceful. You
yes,
would never think that. Never. And can you just, sorry to interject there, but how many years has it been that you've just been speaking English?
so now
Because
it's been 30 years, of course. But
very
in the first
skilled.
5 years, I was struggling big time.
Wow. Yeah. Sorry.
So
Carry on. Yeah.
self-taught, right? So, but it was interesting because when I came to America, it was so many problems because one, I'm with a man that I don't know. Secondly, I don't know the language. I don't know the culture. I want to go to school, but the school is hard. So I was studying electrical engineering at the same time while I was taking classes in English so I can make sense of things. So there were so many variables at play, but my desire was so strong that I was able to conquer all these different phases. So yeah, so coming forward in life where I took a journey as an aerospace engineer to only work on programs that were innovative, which is why I worked on International Space Station, Space Launch System, mid-course defense missiles. Like missile and rocket has been pretty much my story. And right now I'm working on human landing system that will take the first woman and the colored man to walk on the south side of the moon. And so it's kind of interesting to have to navigate life with NASA and do those things. I have 4 boys and they're incredible creature, and I was able to make a difference in their life. But in parallel to all that, I have been to many mystery schools where I learned not only to understand the concept, I have been a teacher of Kabbalah and many other concepts, and I continually teach online as many times as I can. And then I recently published this book called The Quantum Being, and I would love people, if they like what I have to say, is we will put a link there and they can pick it up because this book, I put my heart and soul in it, in capturing everything that I went through. Somebody who came to America not speaking English, having a clerk job, working minimum wage. How did I make it all the way to become a NASA rocket scientist? Not only that, in parallel, I did not just check off myself to be a physical being. I wanted to make sure that I understand all my layers and levels, which is why I have been to multiple mystery schools. And I have upgraded myself to the best of my capability as of now. And the journey continues.
Wow. Wow. Well, you've packed in a lot of things there. You've got the esoteric stuff with the mystery schools, and then you've got the science side of what you do. And in this movement now where we're learning and growing so much about being lied to in every facet of our lives, let's start with the science side with you. One of my questions was that you've worked for NASA now in this movement. Before I actually start off with that question, where you are in the Indian Asian community and your kind of knowledge about being awake, as they call it, or this truther journey or questioning the mainstream rhetoric, where do you actually sit with all of that, you know, with your views, with what's going on geopolitically, obviously spiritually? Where, let's start off with that. Where do you sit with what's going on at the moment today?
Well, I pretty much sit where so that's the thing, right? Where I sit, I have a hard time relating with my Asian community because majority of my family all over America don't really speak the same language as I do because they follow a very like a narrative that majority of the people seems to follow. Now, the majority is an interesting thing, right? Because it appears to be that just like in the March 2020, when the whole thing happened with COVID, and within a month, every single person followed that narrative to the point where we couldn't go outside. We couldn't go to anywhere without wearing a mask on. That is the reason I'm saying that majority follows the narrative, which kind of a little bit makes it challenging for someone like you and me who want to follow what we think is right. And then we have to find each other like you and I found through Sarita. So then we say, oh, hi, I'm so glad to meet you, because then you create that new family that speaks the language that you speak. And that's how I see myself, is that my family is the one that's aligned with me in my understanding of where we are in the cosmos and where we want to go.
Right. Yeah. And it's difficult because you see, there's so many variables to this. And when I sort of discovered so many different kind of narratives being false, I felt quite broken, what with it being about the children first. Yeah. So this is what led me to do what I do, and to be a part of this community that calls itself the truther community. I prefer to call it the truth seeking community, because even within this community, everyone has their kind of different trains of thought, and it goes into my truth is better than your truth. I really don't like that. Alpa Soni show, The Love in Action, here invites people, and I respect everybody's views. I may not necessarily agree with them, but in this community, we're all kind of trying to find our own way, shining our own light, finding our own way, and finding our own inner truth. And that for me is very imperative and important in this journey, because it's like, know your truth, shine your light, and find your own way. So we have these conversations. Okay. And there's a lot of debate about, again, the scientific side of NASA and the moon and everything that we've been taught to about that. My partner talks a lot about the moon and makes documentaries about it. And, there's so many conflicting things out there. So with you being in your train of thought, like, by the way, we have to be careful about how we say stuff with regards to because they will censor me and give me a strike straight away. So just be careful. We've got to use code word. With regards to you in the Asian community now, do you still get, shall I say, mocked for your views?
Well, the thing is that where I live in Huntsville, Alabama, actually, I don't have any Asian connection, actually. So I have been pretty much living my life very differently from everybody else. I have family, my mom and sister, they live in different continents. They love me no matter what I do. And that to me is more than enough, right? And so my community, to me, I call it more as like, I actually feel proud to be an American, because it took me a lot of effort just to even become a citizen, so I can get a job without having to worry about, your immigration status. So to me, taking all that journey, I kind of take the pride in having to become the proud American citizen. I know a lot of people who are born with it, they don't realize that how hard it is to feel that you have somewhat freedom in this country than in your own country, sometimes just because you're a woman, just because you are born in a certain cult or certain religion. So to me, like, yeah, my community is being built all over the world. And like, you're part of my community. It's like, that is how I see it. And, it's interesting that you said about even in the truther community, there are people. So the whole thing about the truth and the reality and what is truly good for you keeps changing as we keep understanding ourselves and we understand other people. And like you said, like, everybody's creating their own playground based on their imagination, based on their track record, based on whatever their story is. And of course, you can play with them, but you have to make sure that you don't abandon your agenda just because you want to play with them. And that is very, very important part, even within the truther community or within your new tribe you're making, is that we need to make sure that if you're a green light and I'm a pink light, I don't need to abandon that I'm a pink light just because I want to be more like you, and vice versa, because then you're not shining your light the right way.
Exactly. And sometimes what happens is, I say this respectfully, a little bit of immaturity. So you can say a word which will be like, oh my God, she's cabal. Oh my God, she's a shill. Oh my God, she's a grifter. Oh my God, she's just this. And this is where I think human consciousness or human behavior hasn't cultivated yet that sanskar. Right? Sanskar meaning that level of decorum of how we behave. Yeah. Immediately you say one word in the public eye, that will get people to think, oh my God, she's a grifter, or she's a part of the other side. She's dark, or he's dark, or she's this, or he's that. Why is that happening? Shehnaz, I ask you this as a rhetorical question. And I'll say why. It's because of the programming that we have been entrusted upon with the mainstream media that have cultivated this level of thinking to immediately think the worst, okay, without questioning. So we say something where we're exposed. Let's take celebrities, for example, right? There are magazines there, left, right, and center, about if someone's spotted with a bit of cellulite on their legs, or someone spotted talking to another person. Straight away, what do the tabloids do? Mirch masala, make it into a bit of propaganda, and everybody gets into that hoo-ha. Oh my God, he, she, this happens. We've been hit with that for so long. So what you're saying is the pink and the green light. I love that. Pink and green, you can just see.
Exactly.
I love that, because this is where we come into that harmony and live in the collective, where we can really accept each other's differences, stay in that place of discernment, not abandon what you correctly said, our own light, our own views, but without it being from an egotistical plane. Because like, well, Alpa, look, you know, my views here are XYZ, but we live in that sense of harmony. Does that make sense? You know?
Yeah, 100%. And the whole thing about what you just said, like there are some trigger words, like NASA, for example, is a trigger word. So these words, you know, they carry a lot of energy in the morphogenetic field. And what happens is that because of the programming and because of people, because some people think that NASA is like, my God, you're so lucky you work for NASA. Some people think, oh my God, if you're a truther, how dare you work for NASA? So it's kind of an interesting conundrum, right? And I always tell people that nothing is truly real from my perspective, if you really look at it. So the only thing that is really real in our world is people, the love, the feeling that you have. That is what is real. So NASA is just one example of illusion. So don't get hung up on NASA or Earth being flat or whatever it is. The point is that, of course, you want to find the truth to some extent, but don't get so wrapped in it that you lose the most important thing, which is the people and how you treat them and how you love them. And we have to converge together, because if we're all in the same boat, like we're all in a prison, let's say, we're all sitting in our cell, we all realize it's a prison. But the thing is, Alpa, you and I, we look at each other, our eye meets, and we feel like, you know what? I think you and I can team up. That is how we can keep teaming up. And then what happens is all of us can create a plan and be free.
I love that. And it's about being in the present, right? We are here today. The past is gone. We have no control of bringing that back. Even just 5 minutes ago, as much as, you know, I can try and blink and try, I can't bring those 5 minutes back. It's here and in the now, and the future is not guaranteed. We just don't know what's going to happen in the future. So right now, in the here and now, while we have learned so many different things, how do we stay calibrated with self? And that really is my kind of interest. And I come from a place of observation and that discernment. And I enjoy having these kind of conversations. And I believe in the synchronicities of life and the lessons of every single encounter that we have. So you touched on this, the question that I was going to ask you next about NASA, and the kind of controversy within the truth and movement, that even the word has. See, again, you know, NASA, oh my gosh, we have to show and employ respect, first of all, for everybody, okay, without it getting to that immature level. But you kind of touched on the subject about it having controversy. How has it been for you in this movement, knowing what you do? Where do you sit with all of it?
I actually feel that I become an ambassador, right? Because in a way that you are crossing the bridges, right? My background working for NASA has given me a lot of technical knowledge about understanding that how, you know, any kind of craft works, you know, which is a spacecraft. But then my quest for understanding the human craft, I actually went to all the mystery schools and I did my own. So the thing is, everybody, because, you know, to some extent, we are navigating in this 3D matrix reality, right? We all have to pay our bills. We all have to do certain things. So how you get that done is completely up to you, as long as you do with your integrity and honesty. The people that I work with, Alpa at NASA, they're the most incredibly amazing cream of the crop people. Like, I love having the conversation with them. I love having to decide that how are we going to solve the problem of depressurization and astronaut suit when they go from one place to another. It just stimulates our brain in ways that it's hard for me to do that if I do any other job, at least for now. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to do that forever. But what I'm saying is that we all navigate our life in a certain way. But as long as you're not creating any kind of, you know, you're doing something that is, you feel that you can't sleep with yourself, then you have to question that how are you going to navigate that. Now, for me, it's interesting because I have been wanting to move away from NASA and my rocket job and just do spiritual teaching and so forth. And I haven't been successful in creating enough revenue to do that. And I was actually told by my guides that there's a reason we want you there. And it's kind of an interesting thing, just like, you know, in Hollywood, not everybody is bad. There are people who are there planted for a reason so that they can be an ambassador, because, you know, sometimes you have to be in the midst of the darkness to create the light.
100%. Boop, boop, boop. I love that. You see, folks, this is a really important point. I am glad that Shehnaz has eloquently expressed. we get put in darkness because we need to shine our light, or that situation, that scenario, that circumstance, that place, that environment needs light. This is not said from a God complex place, but sometimes we have to be in the midst of chaos. Now, as we know, NASA has presented a lot of controversy within the truth and movement, i.e., is the moon real? The flat earth narratives, NASA, the whole thing is just engineered psyops to create this fake sense of science. Yeah. And you know all of that and you're privy to all of that, Shehnaz.
Yes.
But I like this because if we look at this journey of all of us, we came in and everyone has one common denominator that's, you know, the same, is that, whoa, this stuff about the kids, we didn't realize how deep it goes. And then we went down that rabbit hole and we went all over the place. And people are talking about Tartaria, people are talking about the moon being fake, people are talking about the discrepancies with NASA and the science and in the institutions that we have. And it just goes into a web of chaos, confusion, and different narratives. But Shehnaz says the most important, what I feel that I'm really aligned to, is that we step back and we shine our light sometimes in places of darkness. So talk us through this journey. You seem to be going through a spiritual evolution over the last, say, what, 10, 15 years?
Yeah, actually, I was actively doing it since 2010, so 12 years, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting because mine started in 2010 too, where I was taken to places, and everywhere I would go would just point me back into the spiritual kind of path. But it's interesting that this esoteric wisdom, this yearning to learn all of that, I think it's divinely led, Shehnaz. Like, it's something that's constantly knocking on the back of your mind saying, right, this is the route we want to go, but there's a reason why you're staying where you have to, right?
Right, exactly. And the whole thing about the, like scientific community always being so attached that science is the only real way you can prove anything. And my whole thing is that I have dwelled into the science community. I am a scientist myself, but at the same point, I say that spirituality and the magic always precedes science, because science takes a while to catch up to it. So there is a lag there, but that doesn't mean that you ignore everything else, because you're not just physical, you're way more than physical. So you have to remember that. And that is what I do in my book, is I converge the science and spirituality. And it becomes very interesting to show people that when, like, when you say that you can use your imagination to create your reality, science actually proves that with the concept of holographic universe. And I have actually quoted that CIA paper that just got declassified, so we can actually understand all the nitty-gritty on how our universe gets created based on that. So the good thing about all of this is that it becomes much more like the information has another layer to it. When you synchronize your left and your right hemisphere, it makes it so much more implementable for you, right? And that is what my goal in life is, to help people see both sides of it, because then that way they don't get lost with the subliminal trigger subconscious programming that has been done for so long, that a lot of people have, like, they don't even make sense out of things and they react and they get triggered. And I'm like, you got to just take a step back and see that are you really doing what you should do, or are you just following somebody else's agenda to actually get stirred up?
I like what you said, they're triggered. That's what happens extensively. People get triggered because something is being said that's not aligning with their truth. And then they are not able to go into balance, into what I call the recalibration of divinity, and be backseat and just being that observer. Science is incredibly important. Unfortunately, it's been hijacked by the higher powers that be from the dark. The institutionalization of science, pharmaceutical industries, every single fraternity has been hijacked by, in my view, the dark over the years, so subliminally that what is true science is divinity. Okay, you have spirituality and your true science. You mix the two equal opposites, and what do you get? You get the divinity. If you look at the history of the Vedas and the science that got hijacked from that, and then with the spirituality aspect of it, what we are trying to understand now as human consciousness has evolved, we are very quick to character assassinate something. without, as you said, without truly knowing exactly where it came from, what it is. We're mere spectators and speculators in this movie, as I call it. Yeah, trying to discern and navigate and find the truth. But the key is to stay balanced, right? To stay balanced. And like, we can't be this new age spirituality, right? You mentioned the word Kabbalah. Now everyone's thinking, oh my God, Kabbalah, Kabbalah. You know, you're gonna hear that she oh, this is what happens, right? There's so much new age spirituality that's coming out there. What is right? What is wrong? In the science, what is right? Science is a beautiful industry to be in. Like, how much are we benefiting from it? So facing all of that for you must have not been easy.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. Life has not been easy for me in so many ways, but I think because it wasn't easy, that's why I was wanting to solve the problem, because I am an engineer. I like to solve problem. I wanted to understand the root cause for my, feeling not as good as I like to. So in the quest, because I was so thirsty to understand that, it kind of took me to places that it wouldn't have taken me. If I would have been perfectly having a perfect life with one husband and one dog and one child and all that good stuff, I probably would have never explored my self to the point where I am where I am today. So like, my life is not normal in any which way. And from some people's perspective, like from our, old, like our, like our family people, or, they just look at a woman and they say, oh my God, if you're at this age, you should have this type of, certain life. And I don't follow any of that paradigm. And I'm actually happy that I don't, because to me, I don't really care about that. My whole thing is that I want to be able to sleep every night with myself. And I don't care if I die in my sleep. That's the only way I want to live every single day. And to me, like, that makes me more excited about living, is that I don't even care if I don't live for too long.
Yeah, well, this is the main fear in humanity, right? The fear of death. If we were to do like a consensus, people are afraid of mrityu, death, right?
Yeah.
But if you live your life as if every day is your last, and you live with that exuberant spirit to the best that you can, and own everything that is going on within, we're on that kind of self-actualization path. We chose this script, and it's to be the best version of ourselves. We have every right to be abundant. We have every right to be prosperous in this world. And in this like you said, 3D matrix where we try to navigate ourselves while knowing what we know or think we know, and then separating ourselves from the emotional madness and mayhem from it, helps us to get through and to do and find and align with our purpose. So you're moving more towards the esoteric wisdom. You want to find out, you want to be working within the school of mystery, and this kind of wisdom is great, but you're still where you are right now. How long do you see yourself staying with NASA?
I think for now, like, I'm just staying there as long as I need to. But my goal ultimately is, like you said about the science being compromised. And I wanted to say that the thing is that someone like Tesla, for example, right, he really wanted to spread the real science in the world. And of course, he was not given the opportunity while he was alive. And when he died, like, now people appreciate him. But even then, when people tried to tap into the wisdom that he had carried for humanity, a lot of people are a little bit scared that it's going to create problems. So my whole thing is that the heaven on earth that we're creating, we're going to be able to use all those inventions that Tesla had and other scientists had freely, because there's not going to be people dying left and right just because they want to do something right for humanity or heal people the right way, using crystal or using the 0 point energy technology. And my goal is, and I'm putting it out there, by the way, Alpa, if you know anybody, let me know, is that I want to work with those people where we can, because I want to use everything that I have learned by building rocket in inventing machine that's going to help heal humanity at the cellular level. So we no longer have this pandemic or disease or the mask or the fear and any of that, because, we are incredibly amazing human body. Because, I've worked on rocket all my life, but there's not a single rocket that has all these. I mean, look at just the way our inner eardrum works, how we use the vibration to create sound, and that sound becomes so comprehensible that we can communicate the way we are communicating. I mean, everything that goes on in just you speaking to me and me speaking to you does not even work in any kind of rocket. We have crystals within us. So my whole point is that it's time that we embrace the power that we have within ourselves, because we are more magnificent than any machine on planet Earth. And when we converge with our power and our intention and our dream of creating the heaven on earth, we are going to do that. And we just have to work together because teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, and I love that. It's the frequency that we operate within and externally, so that we collaborate rather than hate. Okay. And this divide and conquer narrative that's gone on for years and years, this is what they try to do in every facet of our life, whether it's interpersonal, whether it's professionally, whether it's even spiritually. We are constantly being hit with confusion and chaos, so we really do not get to the truth of who we are. And even within these so-called spiritual communities and the so-called scientific communities, this is the test for us to discern and question everything. So I love that you brought up Nikola Tesla, because in the community, or the truth-seeking community, he's a hero with the theory of 369 and of course the 12, which they miss out. There's so much out there. I prefer not to read and confuse myself. I kind of channel in through an intuitive compass. Sometimes I leave it because I'm like, right, this feels very desensitized right now. I want to sort of grow that muscle, that intuitive compass, that intuitive muscle, as I metaphorically speak, and be able to discern, and come from a place of, guess what, detachment. But inquisition and that curiosity, from a place of no attachment, but it's curiosity. And is it serving me in my life purpose right now? So for example, with where you want to go, everything that you've learned in your fraternity is going to hold a value for you, right? In your future endeavors and everything that you do. And it is a blessing, whatever environment that we've been in, we learn something, and that's what we take from it. We make that the wisdom of our future. So for example, now you want to move into the esoteric wisdom. Nikola Tesla, genius, who got completely character assassinated within the fraternities, and who became the forefront in every single educational institution. Einstein. Yeah. Tesla's free energy got hijacked. So now we're learning all of this. It's interesting you talk about we make machines. What are your views on the med beds? I'm sure you've heard of that. Yeah.
Actually, I have a friend and I want to collaborate with her because she's the most brilliant person I know as a scientist. And she and I would love to make our own med bed. We just need funding. So we actually made a video, Alpa, for that. And I don't mind sending it to you so you can see if you feel like sharing it with anyone of your connection, because we are looking for investor to help us, because we know that we're going to have to go through some processing in getting the crystal. But what we want to use is Tom Bearden's patent. Tom Bearden is no longer alive, but he was the most another amazing scientist. So yeah, to me, there's medbeds all around, and I'm hoping that as long as the people who are doing it and they have good intentions, then that drives the results, right? Like, so at the end of the day, that's what I have to say, because I really don't know what their science is behind it. But the one that we want to create something that's very similar to Elysium bed, and the whole idea is that you pretty much like update the DNA profile in a way so that it gets reset through reverse aging and reverse entropy. So that way, what happens is that you are almost like reprogramming your DNA back to where it was the most healthy state by using crystal. And it has to go through many processing, but we are interested in making our own medbed and many other inventions. We just need the right people to help us in moving forward, because she lives in Spain, I live in America, and we are both kind of committed when the time comes right. Along with that, I have many other people I'm kind of like seeing like where all these technology will converge, because I want to be part of that future. And that is why I'm glad that I have kept my brain sharp enough to be able to handle all these things that I've learned in my science, so I can apply it for what is next to come. Because, you know, we are all being groomed. We're all being trained for what the next step is. And there's so many ways to go to the mountain, and working for NASA in this 3D has been the best thing I could do to keep myself sharp enough so that I'm ready when the time is right to be part of that team.
To execute everything that you learned with your esoteric wisdom, which is why you're balancing both out. And that's what I think the viewers will love here, because again, you know, working in this environment, being like questioning the narrative, being awake, as we say, or you know, moving towards a level of consciousness that doesn't fit the mainstream rhetoric or what we've been programmed or attempted to be programmed towards. So you sitting outside that box, even within your own community, in the science community, tell me, do you have any issues? Does NASA have any kind of reservations about you speaking publicly? Does that ever kind of come up for you with your career? Does it ever cause it?
I mean, in a way, it's good that it hasn't come up, maybe because the time is not right. But I don't think that anybody really watches my video. That's all I have to say, because nobody has said anything. And if they do say that, you know, you can't do this, you can't do that, then that will be my point for decision making, right? Because I'm not stopping. I'm not going to succumb to anybody's, you know, that, like, you know, it's almost like, you know, somebody's saying that, oh, Alpa, you can no longer shine your light as green. And you're going to say, hell, I'm not going to listen to you, because, you know, you're going to shine your light. And if that person doesn't agree with that, then you just say, okay, well, you don't have to be part of my life. And that's how I see. So for me, like, my mission and my purpose is already laid out for me, and I'm going there no matter what. And I don't mind dying either. So pretty much it's a pretty straightforward route. And anything that comes in the way, then basically they won't get my energy. So that'll be the loss for them.
Yeah, I like how you put that. That's beautiful. And if people are interested in supporting Shehnaz, please, all her details will be below, and including her email and mine. You can always send me any kind of questions, as well as Shehnaz directly. I will leave all the information there, because it's a really, really good endeavor, like, to embrace what you've learned scientifically, and then cultivating that towards a practice and an intention to help heal through crystal processes. Because I have heard of this. There's like these crystallized flat beds that they have that you can lie on from amethyst crystals, and there's this frequency that they operate on, and I've actually sat on one, and it is very healing. And if we get these kind of procedures out there, will be great. So where now for you? I mean, you're still staying there with NASA, and you know you're going to be there for the next foreseeable future, but this is what you want to do. How do you see yourself getting there?
So right now, my thing is that I'm creating relationship with the right people. I'm creating my tribe, which is all over the world. And I am staying on my mission of spreading the awareness through my teaching and through some interviews that I do on my channel as well. I have a very small YouTube channel. I just started it. And but it's interesting because, you know, it's like the people that are there, they seem so loving, right? Even though it's a very small number of people. So to me, like, that is just my way of playing a little bit in the playground. But as I said, that, like, I'm kind of more attached to be shown the way where I need to truly go and integrate myself. And I am ready, basically, because I've done it all. I've raised children. I have written the book. I have learned everything. I'm like ready to whatever the next step is. And while I'm not necessarily waiting, because my whole thing is that we have so much distraction in our lives that the more you can cut down those distractions, then you're going to start seeing the forest you want to walk into. Because right now I'm cutting that down as much as possible so I can see clearly where I need to go. And I'm learning a lot of lessons of discernment in the process, because there are people that you think that they are part of your tribe because they look like they have all the right ingredients. And then you learn that for whatever reason, they're not matching up as much as you like them to. So then you have to gracefully say that you play in your playground and I'll play in my playground. So I'm learning that as well, which I think is very important for all of us to learn as we are going into whatever the next step is. Because if you don't learn it soon, then you will learn it ultimately. But how much grief do you want to go through to learn that is the key, right? And for me, I can smell from miles away when somebody's not going to jive with me. So I just say, have a great life, and you do you and I do myself. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing. But the other thing I want to leave everybody to just know, because I speak quantum physics in my book and I love that subject because it completely merges with spirituality. But the thing I want to say is that we all decide where we want to park ourselves, and that's equal to quantum collapse, which means that our reality only becomes solidified in the form of here and now based on where you want to park yourself. So like Alpa and Shehnaz decided to park themselves in this conversation, right? Because we both wanted it, because we knew that it's good for us and it's good for anybody who can stumble onto this conversation. And that is the key thing we all need to remember, is that where are you willing to park yourself? and don't park yourself somewhere where you don't want to be, because you have infinite amount of possibilities to tap into moment to moment.
100%. And I like that, the infinite quantum possibilities. We've moved with so much depth, so much inner wisdom, so much knowledge, so much information. And it's that ability to do and feel and encapsulate what is right for us, chucking away what we don't need in the most gracious, loving way. I love that, because that is what we need to cultivate. As we know, coming from the Asian communities, the Indian communities, we place a lot of importance on that grace, that level of grace, of how we treat our brothers and sisters. That's so important for me, not from a place of false flattery or that kind of vanity. It's more from a place of, okay, we can live in a harmonious world and have opinions, trains of thought that differ, but we're in that balance and in that harmony where we're not character assassinating each other, but coming from that place of sabhyata, decorum, satbuddhi meaning thinking in a truthful way, but to the best of our ability, and sanskars, our way of being, our ways of communicating with each other with that loving grace, that beauty that makes, that frequency feel good. And that actually, hey, I'm speaking to Shehnaz right now. Don't quite understand what she's talking on the rocket science stuff. It's not rocket science. They don't say that for a reason. But hey, I'm willing to learn or find out more. Or if it's something that doesn't park with me, I'll gracefully listen and just be impartial to the knowledge that's being imparted. That makes sense. So it's so important where we come together like this in these times, and you're sharing with us what you want to do, which is the solution outside all of this. Okay. So you're going to be using your knowledge, your gyan, your wisdom that you've learned from the academic side of things, the academic fraternities, which are great. We can't just renounce science. This is what I'm saying. Science is beautiful. Medicine is beautiful, like New Age medicine, but not to the way that the corrupted side of it has become. We know that now. But, literally, if you're in a car accident, for example, God forbid, and something's happened to your leg, you can't eat a cucumber in that moment and eat healthy your way. You need immediate medicine, right, to help you to alleviate the pain. I can't eat my hummus and carrots and my celery and all my great spinach juice in that moment to hope that my body's going to heal straight away. We need that instant medicine to help us with the pain. And of course, we eat healthy, we think healthy, and all of that. It's a collective effort. We can't live in this bipolar state where we just do good that. We need to synthesize the two opposites, neutralize them, and see how we have that charge. Does that make sense?
It's all about integration, right? Because it's like the dark part of you, the skeleton in your closet, all the stuff that you may have shoved under the closet so that everything looks pretty from outside needs to be actually processed. And the more you processing you do, the more you become one with everything. You have nothing to lose and nothing to gain. And then you are in that neutrality with 0 point energy, where you are one with everything, in the bliss, in the flow, having the most amazing time in your life while you're here.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's these conversations that, imagine how else would we have met. And I've had you on my radar for a while, like, just for the surname alone. I'm like, whatever she's about, Soni to Soni, sister from another sister. And I think it's really, really nice. And I really will invite you more to some of the shows that I will be having with people from India. I think I'm ready now to speaking to them. It's quite sensitive, as you know. With India, even in Pakistan, where they sit on the whole global narrative of what we've gone through over this pandemonium over these 2 years, and still their train of thought back in our countries, it hasn't evolved like it has here in the West as openly back home, and even within the communities from the UK. They don't openly talk about what's going on because of one thing, which is fear of what will people think.
Oh my God.
लोग क्या कहेंगे, बधाई नहीं सुधारते, बधाई सू कैसे, लोग क्या कहेंगे,
लोग क्या कहेंगे, right? And and I can actually help you with that, because not only that I have been one of those activists in my local town where I have gone for all the no mask speeches. Like, I was able to get the mask off from my son's school because I was not happy that they had to wear masks. And I actually was able to explain them scientifically that how mask is truly not helping you. Same goes with the whole vaccine. And the interesting thing is, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So never mind.
Yeah.
But the point is that yeah, like all of those things, you know, everybody's learning, right? As they're like now they're learning and they're coming to terms with it. But my God, it took 2 years to come to term with that.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. You would just have to just call
Yeah,
it the max or
understood,
the
100%. Yes.
I call it the Jabberwocky, and masqueraders. It's just so pathetic that we are living in such a world of huge censorship and not allowed to, really freely flow with our true expression. This is what stifles us in many ways. So my humble apologies to you, Shehnaz, just because this channel for me is where I'm getting my voice out. And yeah, we're going to be speaking. But yes, this is great what you're doing within the communities, because unfortunately in our community there's still law-abiding citizens, as I call them, and even the most educated ones of my friends think Alpa was batshit crazy, pardon my profanity there, but it's true. We've had to go through that, but it's usually that one person that's different in their family, that one person that's different in their school, in their whatever, that is going to be the change that's required. Because if you're going to coexist and be the same with everyone else, then how is change truly going to be implemented? Now we can all see that and embrace it. So without it turning into a wound for us on a psychological level, let it embrace us with a sense of inner strength, courage, and faith in the divine, that hang on a minute, this all was a purpose. I chose this. So what we go through is actually from a place of victor consciousness, not victim, as I prefer to say. Yeah,
exactly. And then the people who follow religion, right, like they actually, like, like Muslim, right, like, they pretty much say inshallah means if God wishes. So I always say that when you already know that you don't, there is a higher power than yourself, right, making decisions for you, then why would you get so fearful about something that is so worldly and so physical, right? Like, because when you already know that there's more to life than meets the eyes, then why would you get like, like do whatever it takes to please someone who may not look at the bigger picture? So I always make them go back to the belief that they carry, because, and then it makes them realize that, oh yeah, I'm like, you believe in all this, but you're not implementing it when the time comes. So what's going on?
right. And it's interesting, the choice of words. Well, it's the standard response from the other side, where they're like, well, if that's what you believe in, that's what you believe in. And I'm like, it's not a religion. I'm not dogmatic about it being a belief system. I'm presenting facts to you. This is the difference. This is where I get, like, I'm presenting facts. So it's not a religion where I'm saying why. I'm questioning a narrative that we got told that, first of all, it came from a bad, then it went to here. Then why are we not questioning the geopolitical side of why money was sent to, China? Why was this kind of made in lab? Why are we not questioning that? Why are you just believing a news reporter who's given you and dictated to you, where we've seen endless amounts of times that this is staged? That I'm just asking you on that stance, and it just leaves people frazzled. It's your belief system, and it's just like, no, I'm not. This is not religion. This is not a belief system. I'm just questioning, could you have answers for that? The BBC told me this, the stats. Well, it's a journalist who's been told what to say and do. So this is where I get a little bit. In the beginning, I used to get a little bit frustrated. Then I realized the programming was so tight that what's happening to me, it becomes a frustration from a place of where ego, not from a place of like, okay, that person's meeting me as far as they've chosen to meet themselves.
Exactly. And that is the thing, right? Because beliefs is definitely created by you create a belief. Somebody can persuade you to believe something, but at the end of the day, you have to own up to your belief, whatever that is. Everybody has to own up to their belief. Now, of course, when you want to show them a different door, the problem is, because they want to stay in the belief that they have always had, they don't want to compromise that belief. So therefore, it's easier to compromise your integrity than their belief. And that's the struggle that we're dealing with, right? And actually, I just wanted to give this example of Girls Interrupted. I don't know if you watched that movie. It's a very brilliant movie, by the way, because it shows that how, like, you can be a girl, you can be 100% right about what you think it is, but somebody can put you in a mental hospital just because they don't agree with your narrative, they don't agree with your honesty, and then they do it in a way where you start questioning that whether you are sane or not. And what I'm trying to say is, you understand the point, right? That it's that's the world we live in. So you have to make sure that you don't spend time with people that's going to question to the point where you start questioning yourself.
Yeah, that's the main thing. And we can live in harmony with each other, with our differences, stay congruent, strong, stable, grounded, emotionally connected to the divine, yourself, spiritually, all of those weird, like wonderful things, and be centered in that balance state of harmony, and coexist, because opinions are always going to be there, views are going to be there, your truth, my truth. It's that living in that exuberant spirit, in the present, in the here, in the now, while we just still have that curiosity, if that desire. So, but on a party note, it's been absolutely wonderful having this conversation. Definitely would invite you again on the Spiritual Badass Love in Action show, where we have these healthy conversations. And I want to be doing a roundtable with women from our communities as well. So that is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. But what are you going to leave my audience with today on a parting note, beautiful lady, beautiful Soni?
Well, thank you, Alpa, beautiful Alpa as well. I'm so grateful that for this opportunity and for this conversation. And if anybody wants to get to access anything, my first name and last name.com is my website, and it has all my classes in it and all the stuff that I do. And I'm excited about creating the convergence where we create what we have been longing for, is that more love and more unity.
100% unity consciousness. That's what it's about. Love in action, love always, in all ways. So with that said, everyone, thank you so much for watching. It's been amazing speaking to you, Shehnaz, just for the fact that it's someone who is so graceful, gracious, and incredibly intelligent in many, many ways, and imparting your wisdom with us today. I'm really, really grateful. All details, like I said, will be in the description. And also, please share this video, and know that my autism product is going to be around a lot more on RE Brands, www.rebrands.com, brand not with an S, sorry. And we're moving away from the good line and just singly going to be introducing some new lines to the product range. So watch this space very soon. But yeah, we'll leave you with a lot of love. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Shehnaz. And I will be having a lot more shows lined up. So watch this space.